Hi guys, and welcome to today's episode on animal responses exam questions. I'm going to show you from start to finish how to think, approach, and answer the questions so that you can maximize the amount of marks you get. So this one of my favorites, might I add, is explain how it is possible for acetylcholine to have an effect on cells in the skin of the squid. I've assessed that I do not need to read the information above the question because just when I skim through it, it's really irrelevant. I don't really need to know what actually happens in the squid because the question says explain. If this is explain, it means you know the content. This is not a suggest. There is a difference. And if you would like to understand the difference between explain and suggest questions, I would encourage you to look at the playlist I have on my channel on explaining command words, and I go through examples there. Now for this one, right, you might be thinking, well, I don't really know much about the squid. You don't need to. So rephrase this question in your head. How I would do it would be like, okay, give me 2 points about how acetylcholine can affect cells. That's it. Then that is a question that I can answer based on the content I've learnt in class. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, okay? By knowing that, you've solved it. You know what to write. So, it's going to travel, right? If you want to get a neurotransmitter or hormone or something like that from one place to another, it needs to travel. These are the questions you need to ask yourself when you're in the exam. How does it travel? Well, it travels in the blood. That's 1 mark. Okay, but then once it travels, what's it going to do? How is it actually going to affect cells? Well, we have our lovely cell surface membrane, and they have receptors on it, right? Are bells ringing in your head? So they bind to receptors on the cell surface membrane. That's really it. That's how anything like neurotransmitter can have an effect on cells. Whether it's squid, whether it's us, doesn't matter. That's just how it happens. Identify and correct any biological errors in the student's summary. Guys, you need to know your content. If you don't know your content, then this question is going to be very difficult for you. This is a reminder. Memorize your content. Exam technique is all well and good, but if you don't know what to write, if you don't know what obvious points to state, then you can't get the marks. Let me give an analogy to emphasize this. If you know your content and you've memorized it, this is based on my observations, okay? It's not completely accurate, but we can argue in the comment section below. But if you know all your content and you've memorized it, but you have no exam technique, your grade will be capped at a C. If you have your content and you have some sort of exam technique, not complete, but some sort, I would say you're margining B, possibly A. But if you have complete exam technique, A star. Okay? So, but you can't really get the higher, you can't even get above a C if you don't know what the content is, right? So this is why you need to know it. But enough of that. Let's read what the student wrote. When the heart rate is too low, the level of carboxylic acid in the blood becomes higher than normal. Wrong. It's not carboxylic acid. Let's be honest. It will be carbonic acid. This is what they like to do. They like to put words that are similar to the original. So some people might say carbon dioxide for this one, but that's wrong, okay? Also, a top tip here, as I said, they do words that are similar. Carbon dioxide isn't as similar as carbonic acid to carboxylic acid, okay? But regardless, you should have already known this from revision. So that's one point. It's 4 marks, so 4 points are required. The vagus nerve sends action potentials to the AVN to increase the contraction rate of the heart muscle. It's not the vagus nerve, Because the vagus nerve has an opposite effect. It doesn't increase the contraction rate, it decreases it. So opposed to the vagus nerve, you should say the accelerator nerve. The baroreceptors in the walls of the blood vessels then detect that the pH of the blood is normal, so heart rate can return to resting. It's not baroreceptors, because baroreceptors detect blood pressure, so it would be chemoreceptors. So that's the third thing. Also, one other thing I forgot to say about the sentence above it, it's not the AVN, it's the SAN. And let's see what else we can find. There's so much. Remember, if you ever get stuck in a question like this, you're like, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what other corrections there are. Trust me, there are. They put this summary table thing here for a reason. Examiners have an objective. They know what they're trying to get at. So if you tap into that, you will get the marks because you know what they're looking for. Another top tip. So next one says the endocrine system can also change heart rate. Release of the hormone adrenaline from the adrenal medulla causes the smooth muscle of the heart to contract more frequently. Smooth muscle of the heart to contract. What contracts in the heart? Like what muscle is it? It's in the actual name of the muscle. Cardiac muscle. Not smooth, cardiac. So those are like 5 points, but I'll just write 4. Okay, and that's the end of today's episode. Remember, the 2 most important exam techniques are read the question first and state all the obvious points. Now, over to you. Try some questions and let me know how it goes.